Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. The Ontario election is 2 days away, and the last time around, the voter turnout was a record low, with turnout in Windsor West at the very bottom. And as Pratush Thayal reports, so far, advanced polls show a similar trajectory.
Ontario's snap election is Thursday, but voter turnout in Windsor is still ranking among the lowest in the province, almost half the provincial average. Advanced polling shows Windsor Tech MC seeing almost 3,800 votes and Windsor West even lower at 3,300. That falls well below the provincial turnout at 6.14%.
I had expected this, unfortunately, given that it was a snap election, given that there's so many other things going on politically. We're sort of, focusing on the American side, the Liberal leadership race, a potential federal election, and the fact that it's a winter election. I think all sort of combined were things that I was worried that we were going to have low turnout.
This University of Windsor student voted early for her Windsor West riding.
The current MPPs have been here for quite a while. I think people sometimes just don't feel too easy to go out to vote. I also think it's harder to go out to vote. I know other ridings, not necessarily in Windsor, have had voting on campuses, and I'm just hoping that we have one too.
This first-time voter understands it firsthand.
A lot of young people think that their vote doesn't matter because they're not going to be missing out on a vote. But if a bunch of people think like that, then they're going to be missing out on a lot of votes. So I think you should just go and cast your vote because it could make a big change.
This is our school systems, and it's our industries and our auto industry, and these are important times to get out and vote. So throw the kids into the car and get down to your closest polling station and make a difference, and be a part of your country and our future.
There are still some encouraging numbers. Essex was among the highest in Ontario at 9,500 advance votes, and Chatham-Kent Leamington in the middle at 6,300 votes. Some are leaving voting till the last day.
I think it's just a lot of things like that. People they're checking out. There's a lack of information. There's a lack of communication. And people are just I'm tired.
Hopefully that people will be engaged on election day. But this isn't a campaign that's caught anybody's attention. There's really no burning issues. And it seems that people are, for the most part, at least if the polls are to be expected, happy with the current government. So it's not a change election either.
In the last two elections, Windsor-Essex ridings have recorded some of the lowest voter turnouts in Ontario, and Milton says this election could be the same, with low voter turnout across the board. Pratush Thayal, CBC News, Windsor.
The Health Point Pharmacy here in Stony Point is fighting for a nurse practitioner, and folks here are calling on provincial leaders to make it a priority this election.
We need to have access for every single Canadian to have access for a primary care provider.
This is an underserved rural community in Lakeshore. Its aging population is struggling without primary care after the last doctor in the area retired several years ago. This pharmacy is trying to fill the gap as best it can. It provides a walk-in telemedicine clinic, but it's not enough.
The area is still in need. As a pharmacist, till now I can see if you lost your primary care provider, down the road your health go down.
The pharmacy did apply for a nurse practitioner 2 years ago, but that application was denied, and now they don't know what to do next. When they applied, they had collected 800 signatures asking for a provider. Community member Margaret Bradley says it was upsetting when the application fell through. She's felt the impact of the shortage firsthand, unable to find a care provider since her doctor retired.
I had so many more issues where I started going downhill because I wasn't seeing a doctor, and then you've got to try to go to clinics and things like that, and I ended up having a heart attack.
Both Bradley and Safin are one of 2.5 million Ontarians who don't have a primary care provider. Healthcare has been a major topic during Ontario's snap election, with all the main parties making big promises to pair everyone with a primary care provider. The PCs plan to create 305 new primary care teams, the number of physicians unknown, at a cost of $1.8 billion to connect 2 million more people to a provider, which falls short of the demand. The Liberals promised $3.1 billion to recruit 3,100 family doctors by 2029. The NDP commit to just over $4 billion to recruit 3,500 new doctors over the next 4 years, and the Greens also want to recruit 3,500 family doctors.
Are you hopeful that this will lead to change?
Unless we rise up and really make it a focus of the election, it won't. They will just say whatever. And I think that the province's direction right now is to destroy healthcare and put it on the American plan. That's what Ford's up to. So if something doesn't change there, we're in trouble. So I don't have much hope right now, no.
Meanwhile, this clinic is ready to go. It has the space and is set up for a family practice. It just needs the practitioner. We've got Colette Kennedy with us now for weather. And Colette, double digits today. I couldn't believe it.
Incredible, the temperatures today. I mean, they were mild enough this morning that, you know, you'd almost accept this as being nice for late February when we had readings like this at 6 a.m. But never mind that. Let's take that 2 and add 10 to it and give us 12 degrees by 3 p.m. That's what we were looking at, enjoying incredible temperatures with those double digits and mild elsewhere, just not quite as mild. Now, tonight we could see some of this melt refreezing, so watch out for that with that low of -1. 5 degrees tomorrow with some wet weather on the way. I'll have the details on what to expect with that coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Let's turn back to the provincial election now. We've been zeroing in on ridings across the region, telling you about the candidates vying for your vote. We have Dawson Chen now with tonight's breakdown.
The riding of Chatham-Kent-Leamington has been PC blue since 2011. And among the 6 candidates running for the riding this provincial election, incumbent PC MPP Trevor Jones is the person to beat. The riding is a mix of urban and rural areas, encompassing the town of Leamington, the city of Chatham, and the lands of Kent County south of the Thames River. Jones, a Leamington native and former OPP officer, won the seat for the Progressive Conservatives in 2022. He did not respond to CBC Windsor's interview requests. Among the people trying to unseat Jones, 3 of the candidates don't live in Chatham-Kent-Leamington. Green Party of Ontario candidate Matthew Davey is a Cambridge realtor. Ontario Liberal Party candidate Bill Kirby is also Cambridge-based, but his business has a branch office in the riding. Kirby says he knows health care is the overarching concern of the riding's residents.
Chatham-Kent-Leamington has a deficiency of 31,000 people or more without a family doctor.
The Ontario NDP candidate Christian Sachs lives in Granton, a village in Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. She's a married mom of 5 and a Thames Valley School Board trustee. She says the Ontario NDP will protect health care and education in ways the Ford government just isn't doing.
Ensuring that our healthcare stays public, and our classrooms need to be safe and supportive, both for the students and for the staff.
Rounding out the ballot are 2 candidates from parties that both bill themselves as more conservative than the PCs. Philip St. Laurent is the Ontario Party candidate. The party did not respond to a request for an interview, but St. Laurent said in a campaign video he wants to stop what he describes as indoctrination in the school system. Chatham-Kent Municipal Councillor Rhonda Jubenville is the candidate of the New Blue Party. Jubenville said she'll petition the government to put a homelessness and addiction recovery treatment hub in Chatham. She also thinks Doug Ford is handling Donald Trump's tariff threats incorrectly.
I think our provincial leader, Doug Ford, should be working with the Trump administration, not trying to fight against him.
Chatham-Kent-Leamington has around 85,000 eligible voters. The riding's advanced voting locations drew more than 6,300 people last weekend. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Bonnie Crombie is making the final push of her first campaign as Liberal leader. And in a move some are calling a last-ditch effort to gain votes, she's decided to bring federal politics into the provincial campaign. Lane Harrison explains.
Wow, good morning. When Bonnie Crombie launched her campaign in January, she made one thing very clear.
I'm a different kind of Liberal. I'm a different kind of Liberal.
You have to know me. I'm a different kind of Liberal.
Every morning I've woken up as Prime Minister. I've been inspired.
Ontario's snap election call came just a month after this.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister.
The federal Liberals faced a crisis in Ottawa and in popularity amongst Canadians. But if Crombie believes the polls, things have shifted. In the throes of a federal Liberal leadership race, the provincial party leader saying this.
Mark Carney is a very decisive leader, an experienced leader, and this is a moment in time, and he is the right person for this moment in time.
Crombie officially endorsing Carney in the federal leadership race, and the former central banker responding on X, thanking her and wishing her the best come election time. Crombie was asked if she considers that an endorsement back.
I certainly do.
The Carney team did not respond to CBC's request for a clarification. Asked repeatedly why the endorsement came so close to her own election time, Crombie didn't provide much insight.
Clearly it's for, political reasons. I mean, she's seeing that his star is on the rise, and she wants to try to ride that wave and maybe latch onto his coattails.
Throughout the election, Crombie has branded her campaign Team Bonnie and spoken out against federal Liberal policy.
I wouldn't impose a carbon tax on people, not on consumers, not on farmers, not on family. Did I want to differentiate? Okay, there was a little bit of that, but I truly believe.
When Justin Trudeau was on the top of the ticket for the Liberals federally, everybody wanted to just distance themselves from that brand. Now that Mark Carney has shown, at least in some polling, that he could take on the Conservatives and that he's, seems to be quite popular, she's probably trying to say, well, I'm just like him.
That expert says if Crombie can't topple Ford on Thursday, but reaches official opposition, it may be enough to justify her continued leadership. But if Crombie can't outperform a dismal last two showings for her party, her spot in the top job may be in jeopardy. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
In other news, Canada's national holiday may be months away, but a Canada Day of sorts was being witnessed in Washington. The event was for U.S. government officials invited to visit an array of information tables representing Canadian agencies. And as the CBC's Katie Simpson reports, the goal was clear.
This is what diplomatic engagement looks like. Canadian officials organizing a lunch in one of the busiest office buildings on Capitol Hill, inviting in staffers and American lawmakers, trying to share the anti-tariff message really at any level they can. Canada's ambassador, Kirsten Hillman, saying that even though Donald Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on Canada, to go ahead with those tariffs on March 4th as planned, that there are some positive signs for the White House that the things Canada is doing to try to get out of those tariffs, the improvements to the border, the cracking down on the illegal drug trade, that it is starting to resonate in Washington.
So there's a lot that is being achieved, and we are getting positive feedback on that. That is what I'm hearing. And I get asked the question, will it be enough? There's one person who can answer that question, but what I do believe Canadians can feel confident is that we are taking these requests very seriously. We are delivering important results, and that is being well received.
Some lawmakers did stop by this event, but the engagement will actually take place beyond these walls right here. A number of different diplomats, as well as Canadian members of Parliament, they have a long list of meetings with influential Americans as they try to get that message across really at any level they can. Now, some lawmakers did stop by the lunch, and they were open to Canada's message, really welcoming it.
Got a couple little differences, but it's a sheet with a few wrinkles. So we're going to iron those out, and we're going to move forward, because Americans, at the end of the day, absolutely love Canadians, and I think vice versa.
We are forces against the evil around the world, and we've stood together for more than 7 decades that way, and I expect us to continue to.
Donald Trump has threatened 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods, as well as 10% tariffs on Canadian energy, unless those changes to the northern border are put in place to his liking. But there are more deadlines on the horizon. March 12th, possible steel and aluminum tariffs. Then there's possible auto tariffs. And then there's possible big picture trade irritant tariffs. There are so many different deadlines that the Trump administration is looking at. The bigger picture issue here is how do Canadian officials find a way to get out of the cycle of threat and deadline, threat and deadline. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
A live look outside there. The sun reflected on Caesars there. It's been a beautiful day. Everything really thawing out. Tomorrow, some wetness on the way with a high of 3, so not quite as warm as it was today. When we come back, something strange has been going on with the names of provincial parks on Google Maps. We'll tell you all about it after the break. Welcome back. Soon after assuming office, President Donald Trump renamed places on the U.S. map. He used executive orders to honor, in his words, American greatness. But this weekend, social media was abuzz with Canadians wondering if something similar had happened here. They noticed many provincial parks were categorized as state parks on Google Maps. Liam Britton has more.
We are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Donald Trump made good on that promise, and Google Maps reflects it, at least for U.S. users. But this weekend, social media was abuzz, with Canadians wondering if something similar had happened here, asking in over 1,000 Google Help questions, plus hundreds of Reddit, Facebook, and Threads comments, why is Google Maps now categorizing many provincial parks as state parks?
So I thought, well, how can this possibly be true?
Kiki Grabowski wrote to Google and BC Parks to register her concerns.
Well, that's our sovereignty. That's our country. That Those parks belong to Canada. They are not state parks.
She's not alone. Many were asking if the Trump administration had something to do with it. Others began submitting complaints about the error for specific parks. CBC watched as one park's category changed from state park to park several times.
All right. So why did Google change provincial parks into state parks? Well, the company says they actually didn't, although changes will come.
A spokesperson told CBC the vast majority of these parks have had their existing labels for several years. We're actively working to update labels for parks in Canada to avoid confusion. One expert on Canadian English argues this speaks to the influence of American tech companies.
American programmer assumes it's the same here, and so we'll categorize it as state, or why should I, it's an extra step to relabel that category. So things that can be overlooked. So there you have to be a bit more generous.
He and a geography professor agree the thing to do is complain.
I do think that Canadians are right to criticize these maps and to say, hey, these are not state parks. These are provincial parks, and they should be labeled as such.
It's not clear what exactly will come of Canadians' complaints, but make no mistake, they are passionate about the state of provincial parks. Liam Britton, CBC News, West Vancouver.
The Oscars are reportedly considering a rule change following backlash that 2 Best Picture nominees used artificial intelligence. Magda Gabriselesi shows us how it could change the awards race.
They do not want us here.
The Brutalist is up for Best Picture at the Oscars, and its star Adrian Brody nominated for Best Actor. But last month, there was backlash after news spread the production used artificial intelligence.
They've just used like a very small percentage.
The film reportedly used re-speecher to tweak the lead actors' voices while they were speaking Hungarian. The tech was used in Oscar contender Emilia Perez 2, helping increase the vocal range of the musical's lead, Carla Sofia Gascon.
What you doing?
While this dialect coach is less worried about the limited use of AI in these films, he says its use in other areas raises concerns for the future.
We're seeing in parts of the industry like voiceover actors, commercial voice actors, gaming industry as well. AI is already taking over.
Concerns about AI were a driver of Hollywood's 2023 strikes, during which writers and actors negotiated some protections. But now the Academy behind the Oscars may be ready to weigh in too. It's considering changes requiring films to disclose if AI was used, according to Variety.
I do think that directors, actors, studios, it is a responsibility to them to give audiences kind of the whole picture.
We usually have a lot of traction.
But this post-production expert is reminding audiences that Hollywood movie magic has always included manipulation tools.
You're taking away pimples all the time. You're taking away, you're making people look younger, old. I mean, it's all cheating, right? It's cheating for a creative benefit.
But some of that creativity may call for more clarity come April. That's reportedly when the Academy is expected to roll out a new guideline for Oscar submissions. Magda Gabriselesi, CBC News, Toronto.
If you've got a story for us, we always want to hear from you. Text us, email us. We love your ideas. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Colette Kennedy is back with us for more weather. And Colette, we know that it's been really mild in southwestern Ontario, but there is mild air moving through the whole country. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, we're really finding the temperatures above seasonal in many locations. In fact, the warm spot in Canada right now doesn't go to Windsor. I mean, they only have us by a little more than a degree, but it's actually in Enchant, Alberta, where they're slightly warmer, but otherwise we're doing pretty good, still at double digits. Windsor at 10 degrees, but you can see the mild air, Vancouver at 8. This is where that cold Arctic air, so Moosonee minus 14, but everything else, we've got lots of readings here at freezing or actually above, which is pretty unusual for the end of February. A closer look, and yeah, they're not doing as well, Kitchener or Goderich, but still it's mild and it's above seasonal in those regions as well. The winds are relatively light, and some of that activity, some of those showers pushing through with that weak system, that's moved off to the east. There's another system that's kind of eyeing southwestern Ontario, and so we have to turn our attention to that, but that's really going to be coming in through the day tomorrow, and into the afternoon hours we'll start to see some showers developing, but it should be mostly showers. I'm stopping this here at 1 p.m. though, because you can see how close that freeze line is, that we could get a little bit of wet snow, albeit I hope briefly, but some wet snow in there before that temperature and that profile of temperatures just pushes it over into rainfall, and it continues as light rainfall, a bit of a break, and then another little shot of that coming in the late evening hours as we're approaching midnight. On the backside of this system, there will be some colder air that moves in. It'll set up some lake effect snows, but it's not going to do much for southwestern Ontario other than some flurries. This is mostly a rain event then. You can see perhaps 10 millimeters to 10 to 15 millimeters. Chatham, Kent, the numbers in blue would be snow, and this model, I've got the Canadian model on here, really not thinking much is going to happen, maybe a centimeter or two, and with that wet snow it's going to melt very quickly, so it's not really anything you'll be shoveling. What I'm more concerned about is what we'll be doing with any freezing. I mean, we're going to slide just below the freezing mark overnight tonight, around -1, and with that we could have some of this liquid freezing up in spots, so be aware of that tomorrow morning. I don't want anyone having a slip and fall or a fender bender either. 5 degrees with the rain showers or flurries into Thursday, and then as we head towards the weekend, another system is coming through. I think it may not do too much for us, but I'll have more details on that coming up.
Yeah, the mild air couldn't last forever. Thank you so much, Colette, and thanks to you all for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.